I'm Nicholas Balsi here at CPAC with Tom Homan. Thanks for taking some time to speak with me.
No problem.
So first I wanted to ask you about immigration enforcement and what's happening right now in the United States. Are there areas of improvement that you think the Congress needs to adopt?
Congress is not going to make any improvements. They want this to be an issue for 2020, right? So what the president has done, if you look at what has happened on the southern border, we had the national emergency. Numbers on illegal entries on the southern border down 72% from high in May because of what the president's done. You know, the Mexican tariff threat, Mexico's doing more than ever done. He's building that wall. He's got unprecedented resources down there. He's got deals with Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras. Numbers are down 72% because of this president. Congress hasn't done anything to help him. And Congress, I've been fighting Congress for 2 years. There's 3 simple loopholes they could close that could help control that border, and they refuse to close those loopholes. They want this to be an issue. They want the president to fail in the #1 campaign promise, but even though they're resisting him, right? And even though every presidential candidate from the Democratic Party wants to give free health care and they want sanctuary cities, want to abolish ICE, try to entice more people to come, despite the resistance, despite them working against the president, 72% decline because of this president. They've lost this battle. The president's winning.
When they talk about the separating families issue, what would be the real way to resolve it? Like a concrete way the president
fix the loopholes.
could resolve it?
If they fix the loopholes on the family, let's detain. If families are really coming to this country to seek asylum, which 90% never get relief from the government because they don't truly qualify for asylum. Escaping poverty isn't a claim for asylum. If they want that to be a reason for asylum, they change the law. But if they close that loophole, let us detain families for up to 35, 40 days, which we did under the Obama administration, 90% lose their cases, they go home. We can keep families together in a family detention center. And it's not I shouldn't even use the word detention because they're open air campus facilities like a campus-like setting. There's no razor wire, there's no jail cells. Let us keep them so they can see the judge. If they truly have a case, they should have no problem staying in a family residential center for 35, 40 days and pleading their case. That's the only way we can guarantee to actually see a judge, because a lot of them won't show up. If they would fix that one loophole, there would be no reason for zero tolerance. You say family separation, I say zero tolerance. But let's remember, family separation happens to U.S. citizens every day when a U.S. parent's arrested. No different.
You hear a lot about that on the campaign trail, Democrats saying families are being separated at the border.
And babies are being separated from women's wombs every day and being killed. So I don't understand their thinking on that. To separate someone that's entered the country illegally because the parent's going to U.S. Marshals criminal lockup, the children can't go with them. We have to separate them. Just like if I go home and get DUI tonight and I got a child in the car, I'm getting separated. Every U.S. citizen gets arrested, gets separated. Those parents are being prosecuted, put in criminal detention. So they had to be separated. So when they say, if they really want to stop separation, to fix the loopholes, let us keep them together. We want to keep them together, but they refuse to do it. They want this to be, a poking the eye to the president in the election. That's all this is about. They hate this president more than they want to fix the border. They hate this president more than they want to secure the border.
What would be the implications of when they talk about abolishing ICE, for example? What would be the implications of doing something like that, cutting back on immigration?
Abolishing ICE is just a ridiculous concept. It's never going to happen because once you get by the Border Patrol, you're home free. There's going to be no agency looking to remove you, even after you have due process. We spend billions of dollars a year on border security, detention, immigration courts. When a federal judge makes a decision, that decision needs to stand for something, needs to mean something, or there's no integrity in the entire system. Just fire all the Border Patrol agents, open the border up, because there's no consequence now. There's no deterrence. So without ICE, there's no one looking for you if you get by the Border Patrol, number one. Number two, if you don't get by the Border Patrol, you put in front of a judge, and judge says you must leave, who's going to enforce that order, first of all? And that's just a small piece of what ICE does. Let's not forget the hundreds of women they rescued from sex traffickers last year, the thousands of children that were, saved from child predators, again, sex traffickers. ICE last year sees enough opioids to kill every man, woman, and child in this country twice over. They're doing a lot of national security, public safety work. You don't get rid of federal law enforcement agency. But again, this is Congress failing to do their job. They would rather abolish a federal law enforcement agency than fix the system that's causing the problems. It's their failure.
And when you hear also from Democrats talking about when it comes to ICE inside the country, if they were to actually not have detention. You've been hearing that from Democrats. No detention centers. We shouldn't be holding people.
Look, that's ridiculous. Every country in the world has border enforcement. We already know, even with detention, ICE only detains maybe 1 in every 6 people because there's only, I think right now they got like 50,000 detention. And look, they had over 800,000 come in this country in 1 year. So we possibly can't detain everybody. But we detain recent entrants, we detain the criminals. If you look at who's detained in ICE detention, first of all, Congress needs to read their own law. Who's detained in ICE detention today? I'll tell you right now, as of right now, 72% are in ICE detention because congressionally mandated by law they got to be locked up. That's in the law. So if they want to get rid of ICE detention, first they got to do their job and change the law. 72% are in detention because of congressional mandates. The other 30% are public safety threats or flight risk. And a small percentage is detained. You can't, again, if you take away a consequence, we all learned as children, if there's no consequence, no deterrence to illegal activity, it's going to continue. It's just so there has to be consequence to deterrence to knowingly violating the laws of this country. And look, if you're on the 90-detain docket, let's say you get arrested on the 90-detain docket, it takes 4 or 5 years to get through the case. If you're on the detained docket in one of the facilities, average length of stay is less than 40 days. So if you want quick resolution to your claim or fear and your claims, you got 40 days if you're in detention. Outside detention, you got years. So what do they really want? Do they want a finality to their issue, or do they just get into the country and disappear into the fabric like they always do?
Well, because the president points to undocumented immigrants who commit crimes in the United States, and that needs to be taken care of.
Well, again, that's exactly what ICE is doing. If you look at what ICE is doing, people say, well, ICE needs to prioritize criminals, the ones that commit crimes. Well, they do, because 89.7% of everybody ICE arrested last year, 89.7, that's 9 out of 10, have either a criminal history or pending criminal charges at time of arrest. So ICE is concentrating on criminals. But I'm sick and tired of the left saying they need to concentrate more on criminals, but we're not going to let you in your jail, right? We want you concentrating on criminals. We're going to be a sanctuary where we release criminals every day to the street. You can't have it both ways. If you want ICE to even concentrate more on criminals, then let us in the damn jail where your local and state law enforcement has chosen to lock them in a jail cell because either a public safety threat or flight risk. There's a reason they arrest them and put them in a jail cell. All we're asking for access to that jail cell. So you can't keep saying concentrating on criminals, we're not going to get access to jails. And I told you about 9 out of 10 are criminals. The others are fugitives or collaterals. Collateral arrests are somebody you find during an enforcement operation. You go arrest a target, and while you're doing that, you find somebody that's illegal in the United States that weren't even on our radar. But they got to be arrested because we found them and they're illegal in the United States. Where do you think most collateral non-criminal arrests happen? Sanctuary cities, because you force agents out of the jails into the neighborhoods. When you force agents into the neighborhood, chances are they're going to find others. So if they really want to protect the immigrant community, let us in the jail so the criminal don't go back and reoffend the very community in which he lives. Number 2, it keeps ICE out of the neighborhood. More officers in the jail means less officers in the neighborhood, which means less collateral arrests. If they really protect the immigrant community, the best way to do it is let ICE in the jail. It's ridiculous. It's a losing argument every time they bring it up.
To clear it up, right now, ICE does not have access to many jails and cities to process.
No, they actually have.
Is that correct?
They actually have access to most jails. It's a sanctuary jails. There's about 300 of them, maybe over 300. But we got to remember, there's over, I think there's over 3,000 counties. So we have. Most people give us access to the jails, and that's what we talk about when we talk about sanctuary cities. People say, well, they want us to be cops. They want the cops to be immigration officers. No, we don't. We don't want you to ask immigration questions. We want access to the jail where you already arrested and chosen to lock somebody up, that based on fingerprints you sent to the FBI that we get a copy of, they're in the country illegally. So you're detaining somebody that we know is in your jail, and we know we have probable cause and evidence that he's in the country illegally. Let us in the jail to talk to him, and when you're done with him, give him to us. That's all they're asking for.
And that's the issue now. Sanctuary cities aren't allowing that process to take place.
They want us in the jail. They don't notify them when they release them, and they'll just go reoffend. But coming next year, they'll have their hand out for more Department of Justice funding because they want to be reimbursed for detaining illegal alien, the one that they could have turned over us and not have to detain them over and over and over again. It's ridiculous.